Okay. Jai Radha Madhava, and then we'll talk about Lord Varadev. Jaya Kunja Viyade Vijana Pallabha Jaya Giri Varunade Jaya Giri Varunade Paramahansa Paravatikacharya, also Teta, Satashi Shimad, His Divine Grace, by Acharana Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopikapanath Saya Makunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Maturadam Ki Jai Jagadata Sami Ki Jai Yamunamaya Ki Jai Shrimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Samani Chinamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvadi Pajarni Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschachate Jatarni. So, Magana Timidanda Shagananjana Shlakaya Chakshur and Vidikam Yenatasmai Shigadavena Maha. So today is the glorious appearance day of Varahadev, the boar incarnation of the Lord. So as Prabhupada explains, Krishna has incarnations in every species of life. And Actually, probably more than every species of life, because as I have mentioned in many classes before, Krishna sometimes combines species of life, like half man, half lion, or Hayagriva. So I would say it's more than 8,400,000 different types of incarnations that Krishna has. And even like as a human, or so-called human, Krishna has many human form incarnations too. So it's just like unlimited, like the waves of the ocean that come one after the other. So really, to understand why Krishna does all these things, it's simply to enjoy. And so Krishna arranges, because any of these activities like Paritranaya, Saranam, Vinashaya, Chadushkatam can be accomplished by Krishna's energies. Krishna doesn't have to do it directly, or by Krishna's devotees. So he comes to enjoy, just like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You could say he came down to propagate the Sankirtan movement, which is true. But he has his internal reason too, to understand Radharani's love for him, to understand and actually appreciate the ecstasy she's experiencing, and also to see his own beauty as the topmost egotist. What is that egotist? Krishna is the topmost egotist, but with him it's not false ego, because he actually is the best. You know, so Krishna has the biggest ego of everybody. So anyway, so in order to accomplish the purpose of fighting with Varahadev and later Hiranyakashipu, not fighting with Varahadev, fighting as Varahadev with Hiranyaksha, and actually saving the earth planet, lifting up from the Garbhodak ocean, and fighting with Hiranyakashipu, Krishna wanted to arrange fighters that basically were fun to fight with. So therefore Krishna arranged for his Vaikuntha associates, Jaya and Vijaya, to come down. And the way he arranged for that was that you have the four Kumaras, who were just young kids, 5 years old, innocent, and they went to the door of Vaikuntha, and Jaya and Vijaya, the eternal doorkeepers, stopped them from entering Vaikuntha, and they got really upset with Jaya and Vijaya, and they cursed them and said, "You're acting like demons, so you should come down to the earth planet and be demons." But the Lord rushed out at that point, understanding that his devotees were being cursed, and he sort of mitigated the whole curse. He said, "You're going to have 7 lives as devotees, or 3 lives as demons. So what do you want?" They thought, "Well, we want to come back really quickly." So therefore they were sent down to the earth planet. And so there, Ravana and Kumbhakarna and Shishupal and Dandavakra, and here we have Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. And some stories say that they appeared later as Jagai and Madai. Oh, everybody's with you?
Yes.
Wow, so you're just like coming in the beginning. You didn't miss anything. Or you can turn it off because you're getting feedback. So anyway, there are some stories, although that's not in the Bhagavatam, but some of the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that they actually appeared as Jagai and Madai, and later on, in fact, the whole back to Godhead. Anyway, so, another mala. Give it to the deities. So, he said, I don't really like wearing malas. Anyway, so, okay, everybody sit down, comfortable. Okay, so, anyway, so we're talking about Lord Varaha's appearance. So in order for them to have proper parents, it was arranged that Diti would be their mother and Kashyapa would be their father. Now Diti is the mother of the Daityas, and Danu is the mother of the Danavas, and Aditi is the mother of the Adityas, who are the demigods. And just like the other day we were talking about, there's Lakshmi and someone called Alakshmi. That means the goddess of misfortune. And anyone who doesn't follow the guru becomes Alakshmi instead of Lakshmi.
Doesn't bother.
What?
Doesn't bother.
Bother?
So you said?
What?
What did you just say?
Anyone who doesn't follow the guru's instructions
Oh.
becomes Alakshmi. Means a goddess of misfortune. So, I'm not going to say any lady who doesn't listen to her husband. Some people take that to an extreme. Anyway, so Diti was the mother of the Daityas. And basically, you may say, why is she the mother of the Daityas? Because she has sometimes uncontrollable lust. Someone who is godly controls their lust. Vajravegam, Manasa Krodavegam, Jivavegam, Udvarpashtavegam. So the story goes as follows, which I think most people are familiar with, that one time Diti got very lusty, and she went to her husband Kashyapa, and she basically, started to grab at his clothes, which is actually quite a lusty thing. And Kashyapa said, "It's not auspicious, leave me alone." But somehow or other he became entranced or attracted to her, and they had a relationship at an inappropriate time. And he explains to her that at inappropriate times, Lord Shiva is just traveling around with all his associates, and he's looking. Of course, his associates are Bhutas and Pretas and Pisachas. And so he's looking to place his associates in the wombs of different ladies. And so they have a nice little Pisacha kid, or Bhuta, ghost, or a witch, like that. So, anyway, I'm not going to get into that. So sometimes it happens. Devotees sometimes give birth to demons, and demons sometimes give birth to devotees. So this particular association between Kashyapa and Diti happened at twilight, and basically Kashyapa predicted that these kids that are born now are going to be killed by the Lord of. I already said I don't like Malas, but anyway, we accept out of culture. So, anyway, so Kashyapa predicted they were going to be killed by the Lord, and Diti actually became happy because she's a devotee. She said, "Oh, my kids are going to get killed by the Lord." And Kashyapa even predicted Prahlad Maharaj that, their son, or the son of one of them, is going to be a great devotee of the Lord. So there was a great darkness during the pregnancy, and the demigods asked Lord Brahma, "What's happening?" And Lord Brahma told them the whole story of Giant Vijay. He related what I just told you previously. And there's this whole story which I have here. Oops. So anyway, the demons eventually appeared from the womb of Diti. As described in the Bhagavatam, they were tall. Hiranyaksha was younger. And he went to heaven. The first thing he did, right after he was born, he went to heaven with a club and challenged the demigods. And then he went to one particular demigod named Varuna, the god of the water, challenged him to fight. And Varuna said, "I'm just a little old. I'm too old. If you want to fight with someone your own size, you should fight with Vishnu, and you will be killed by him." And so he liked this. The chivalry. The demons are also, at least some demons are actually very chivalrous. They just say, "Wow, good fight." And so what happened, it's like the story of Manasura too, isn't it? Manasura had all these arms, he would just beat them against the mountains. And he prayed to Lord Shiva, I want someone to fight with, and Lord Shiva said, yeah, you're going to get someone, don't worry. And he's going to defeat you, and he became happy with that. So, Varuna told him, you should fight with Vishnu. And he asked, where's Vishnu? And Varuna didn't know, so he asked Narada Muni where Vishnu is. And Narada Muni said, he's in the ocean. I saw him with the earth planet. And this Hiranyaksha said, the earth is ours. It doesn't belong to Vishnu. So anyway, so he goes, and Vishnu is saving the earth. In the Bhagavatam, it describes, or the Acharyas describe that Lord Varaha appeared a number of times. You know, there's two descriptions in the Bhagavatam, and they're sort of amalgamated into one. You know, the saving of the earth planet from the bottom of the ocean, the Garbhodak ocean, and then the fighting with Hiranyaksha. So, anyway, so this demon goes to the Garbhodak ocean, and he sees Lord Vishnu with the earth planet. And he says, the earth is ours. Lord Vishnu, that is Lord Varaha, places the earth on the water and says, let's fight. And so they start this like really tremendous fight between each other. And Lord Vishnu doesn't always appear to be winning. You know, sometimes it appears like the demon's winning. He has all these mystical tricks. We're going to read some of the Bhagavatam verses about this in a second. And Lord Brahma starts getting nervous. He says, stop playing with him already. Pray dispatch him. And Lord Varaha starts laughing. And he fights, and some descriptions of the fight here. The Lord's, the Lord causes the Lord's mace falls to the ground, and the demon, being very chivalrous, tells the Lord to pick it up. Then the Sudarshan chakra comes out, and the demon throws the mace at Lord Varaha. Lord Varaha kicks it away, and then the demon catches the mace, and then the trident of the demon is cut to pieces with the Sudarshan chakra. The demon disappears and uses magic that stones, pus, hair, stool, and naked demonesses appear. And then the Sudarshan comes out again and dispels all this magic, this illusion. At this particular time, Diti is sort of understanding, my son is going to die. And so blood actually flows from her breasts. The demon gets angrier and angrier and goes up to Lord Varaha and embraces him. And then he looks, and Lord Varaha is outside of his embrace. So then Lord Varaha nonchalantly slaps him on the root of his ear. It's right here. And he dies. The demon dies. Then there's the other story about the appearance of Lord Varaha. That this actually two stories. One is that the demon is there, but they actually, in both cases, Lord Varaha comes out from the nostril of Lord Brahma. But in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it describes that Manu is ordered by Brahma to create, and then he says, I need some help. I want some help in bringing the earth out from the Garbhodaka ocean. And Lord Brahma starts meditating, and out of his nostril comes a little tiny boar. Hears a roar, and the boar grows bigger and bigger and bigger and flies in the sky, dives into the water, and waves become big. So, and then saves the earth planet, and then later on fights with Hiranyaksha. So, one other thing happened there that's very interesting, involves the birth of Bhaumasura. The Bhaumasura was born from Bhumi. So when Lord Varaha went down into the Garbhodak ocean, he actually touched Bhumi with his tusks. And by touching Bhumi with his tusks, he impregnated her, because as we know, Angadiya Shah, Sakalandriya Tri Timanti, that the Lord can do anything with any one of his senses or any part of his body. He can see with his hands, he can hear with his nose, he can smell with his ears. Because it's spiritual. He can eat with his eyes, as we know, or eat with his ears. So it's a spiritual body, because we're limited, because our body is constructed in a certain way that we are dependent upon the shape of our organs, which are different from us. But the Lord is Advaya, which means non-dual or Advaita. So everything about the Lord is non-different from the Lord. Just like with ourselves, if we say, probably use this example quite often, if I say to you, point to yourself, is this you? Is this you? Is that you? No. And Prabhupada did that one time. He was preaching at a school. Actually, in Fiji this happened. He was preaching in a school for young kids, and he said, you should all tell me, point to the part of the body that's you. And the kids just said, and then they understood the philosophy. But with Krishna, he can point to any part of his body, and it's him. That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not that, in one sense you could say Krishna has a nose, but he is his nose. So anyway, so Lord Varaha impregnated Bhumi, and then Bhumi had a little baby. And that baby's name was Boma. And that baby was a nice baby. Good samskaras. Because parents were Krishna. I'm sure Krishna and Bhumi brought him up nicely. But actually, Bhumi understood that the Lord was going to kill her son and his son. And so Bhumi at that time, knowing the future, said to the Lord that, please do not kill our son. And so the Lord, Krishna, Lord Varaha, said, I will not kill our son without your permission. So Krishna is extremely tricky. So what happened is that later on, this Boma, by bad association, I think he had bad association, Minda and Ridvida, the two gorillas. And those two gorillas had assisted Lord Ramchandra, but they had offended Lakshman. So they developed demoniac qualities. That's also another good, interesting point, that when you offend a great devotee, or offend the Lord in this particular case, then you develop all sorts of bad qualities. So, anyway, Boma had bad association and became Bomasura, and it's described that he did all sorts of horrible things, like stealing 16,100 princesses. Not such a good idea. And he stole Aditi's earrings, the mother of the demigods. And so Krishna thought, I got to do something about it, because they complain. The demigods complain, our mother's earrings. I guess they didn't care too much about the 16,100 princesses. There's no information that they got upset about that, but about their mother's earrings. So Krishna goes there, and on the back of Garuda, to attack Bomasura's own son. So then there's so many stories in the Krishna book about this. How there's this Mura demon there with, was it 5 heads or something like that, who attacks Krishna and attacks Garuda, and Krishna defeats him, and there's a Anilo, like there's a electrical fence or electrical barrier between Krishna and Bomasura's castle, where Bomasura is. And eventually Krishna goes there, and Bhaumasura is fighting with Krishna, and Krishna has with him Satyabhama. And now Satyabhama is non-different from Bhumi. And so, but she doesn't realize that because of Yogamaya. So Krishna has Satyabhama on the back of Garuda, and Krishna's being attacked by Bhaumasura, and she eventually says, kill him. And he says, thank you for giving me permission. And he kills him. And it turns out that Bhaumasura's son was a good guy. What was his name again? I forget the son's name. But anyway, he was a good guy, so he was put in charge of the kingdom. Krishna rescues the girls, and they go to Krishna, and Krishna says, all right, you go home now. And then the girl says, no, we can't, because we've been in the home of someone else. And this was the standard of chastity that was expected of the women in those days. Pretty heavy, isn't it? Pretty heavy. Can you imagine, if your daughter stays in her friend's house for one night, you can't get her married? Pretty heavy. Anyway, so reputation is really important. So, they say, no one else is going to marry us, so you got us. So Krishna marries all of them. That's 16,100. I said the eight wives came through other means, and that's described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, anyway, so that's basically the story of the appearance, and now we're going to read from the Bhagavatam verses about Lord Brahma, so we can hear more direct information from the Bhagavatam. Let's see, go to that verse. Okay, here's the story. This is from the 3rd canto, 13th chapter, text 14. So Manu says to Lord Brahma, O all-powerful Lord, O killer of all sins, I shall abide by your order. Now please let me know my place in that of the living entities born of me, because Manu's a Prajapati. O master of the demigods, please attempt to lift the earth, which is merged in the great water, because it is the dwelling place for all living entities. It can be done by your endeavor and by the mercy of the Lord. Maitreya said, thus seeing the earth merged in the water, Brahma gave his attention for a long time to how it could be lifted. Brahma thought, while I have been engaged in the process of creation, the earth has been inundated by a deluge and has gone down to the depths of the ocean. What can we do or engage in this matter of creation? It is best to let the Almighty Lord direct us. O sinless Vidura, all of a sudden, while Brahma was engaged in thinking, a small form of a boar came out of his nostril. The measurement of the creature was not more than the upper portion of a thumb. O descendant of Bharat, while Brahma was observing him, that boar became situated in the sky in a wonderful manifestation, as gigantic as a great elephant. Struck with wonder at observing the wonderful boar-like form in the sky, Brahma, with great brahmanas like Marichi, as well as the Kumaras and Manu, began to argue in various ways. In other words, they didn't understand what was happening. Is this some extraordinary entity come in the pretense of a boar? It is very wonderful that it has come from my nose. First of all, this boar was seen no bigger than the tip of a thumb, and within a moment he was as large as a stone. My mind is perturbed. Is he the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu? While Brahma was deliberating with his sons, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu roared tumultuously like a great mountain. The omnipotent Supreme Personality of Godhead enlivened Brahma and the other highly elevated brahmanas by again roaring with his uncommon voice, which echoed in all directions. When the great sages and thinkers who were residents of Janaloka, Tapoloka, and Satyaloka heard the tumultuous voice of Lord Bor, which was the all-auspicious sound of the all-merciful Lord, they chanted auspicious chants from the three Vedas. Playing like an elephant, he entered into the water after roaring again in reply to the Vedic prayers by the great devotees. The Lord is the object of Vedic prayers, and thus he understood that the devotees' prayers were meant for him. Before entering the water to rescue the earth, Lord Bor flew in the sky, slashing his tail, his hard hairs quivering. His very glance was luminous, and he scattered the clouds in the sky with his hooves and his glittering white tusks. He was personally the supreme Lord Vishnu and was therefore transcendental. Yet because he had the body of a hog, he searched after the earth by smell. His tusks were fearful, and he glanced over the devotee brahmanas engaged in offering prayers. Thus he entered the water, diving into the water like a giant mountain. Lord Bor divided the middle of the ocean, and the two waves, appeared as the arms of the ocean, which cried loudly as if praying to the Lord, "O Lord of all sacrifices, please do not cut me in two. Kindly give me protection." Lord Bor penetrated the water with his hooves, which were like sharp arrows, and found the limits of the ocean, although it was unlimited. He saw the earth, the resting place for all living entities, all living beings, lying as it was in the beginning of creation, and he personally lifted it. Lord Bor very easily took the earth on his tusks and got it out of the water. Thus he appeared very splendid. Then his anger glowing like the Sudarshan wheel, he immediately killed the demon Hiranyaksha, although he tried to fight with the Lord. Thereupon Lord Bor killed the demon within the water, just as a lion kills an elephant. The cheeks and tongue of the Lord became smeared with the blood of the demon, just as an elephant becomes reddish from digging in the purple earth. Then the Lord, playing like an elephant, suspended the earth on the edge of his curved white tusks. He assumed a bluish complexion like that of a tamal tree. And thus the sages, headed by Brahma, could understand him to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead and offered respectful obeisances unto the Lord. So that's in the 13th chapter. And the rest is just prayers in the 13th chapter. I think I have the later description here, later on. Whoops, yes, I do. In the 18th chapter, there's more descriptions here about the fighting. Yes, the 18th chapter. 18th chapter, beginning with text 1. Maitreya continued, the proud and falsely glorious Daicha, referring to Hiranyaksha, paid little heed to the words of Varuna. Remember I described before, Varuna told you should fight with God and he'll kill you. My dear Vidura, he learned from Narada the whereabouts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and hurriedly betook himself to the depths of the ocean. He saw there the all-powerful Personality of Godhead in his Bor incarnation, bearing the earth upward on the ends of his tusks and robbing him of its splendor with his reddish eyes. The demon laughed. Oh, an amphibious beast. The demon addressed the Lord, O best of the demigods dressed in the form of a boar, just hear me. This earth is entrusted to us, the inhabitants of the lower regions, and you cannot take it from my presence and not be hurt by me. You rascal. So he's addressing Krishna, Lord Bor. You have been nourished by our enemies to kill us, and you have killed some demons by remaining invisible. O fool, your power is only mystic. So today I shall enliven my kinsmen by killing you. The demon continued, When you fall dead with your skull smashed by the mace hurled by my arms, the demigods and sages who offer you oblations and sacrifices in devotional service will also automatically cease to exist, like trees without roots. Although the Lord was pained by the shaft-like, abusive words of the demon, he bore the pain, but seeing that the earth on the ends of his tusks was frightened, he rose out of the water just as an elephant emerges with its female companion when assailed by an alligator. The demon, who had golden hair on his head and fearful tusks, gave chase to the Lord while he was rising from the water, even as an alligator would chase an elephant. Roaring like thunder, he said, "Are you not ashamed of running away before a challenging adversary? There is nothing reproachable for shameless creatures." The Lord placed the earth within his sight on the surface of the water and transferred to her his own energy in the form of the ability to float on the water. While the enemy stood looking on, Brahma, the creator of the universe, extolled the Lord, and the other demigods rained flowers on him. The demon, who had a wealth of ornaments, bangles, and beautiful golden armor on his body, chased the Lord from behind with a great mace. The Lord tolerated his piercing ill words, but in order to reply to him, he expressed his terrible anger. The personality of God had said, "Indeed, we are creatures of the jungle, and we are searching after hunting dogs like you." One who is freed from the entanglement of death has no fear from the loose talk in which you are indulging, for you are bound up by the laws of death. Certainly, we have stolen the charge of the inhabitants of Rasatala and have lost all shame. Although bitten by your powerful mace, I shall stay here in the water for some time because having created enmity with a powerful enemy, I now have no place to go. You are supposed to be the commander of many foot soldiers, and now you may take prompt steps to overthrow us. Give up all your foolish talk and wipe out the cares of your kith and kin by slaying us. One may be proud, yet he does not deserve a seat in an assembly if he fails to fulfill his promised word. So here you see the indirect rasa of chivalry being manifest, and also anger, two things being manifest. So of course, Krishna could have just killed him like that, just wanting him to be killed. Krishna's Abdakama. He gets whatever he wants just by wanting it. But he just wanted to experience the chivalrous mood and this challenging mood. Sri Maitreya said, the demon, being thus challenged by the personality of Godhead, became angry and agitated. In other words, he also wanted a good fight, so Krishna wanted to agitate him more. And he trembled in anger like a challenged cobra, hissing indignantly. All of his senses shaken by wrath, the demon quickly sprang upon the Lord and dealt him a blow with his powerful mace. The Lord, however, by moving slightly aside, dodged the violent mace blow aimed at his breast by the enemy, just as an accomplished yogi would elude death. The personality of Godhead now exhibited his anger and rushed to meet the demon, who bit his lip in rage, took up his mace again, and began to repeatedly brandish it about. Then, with his mace, the Lord struck the enemy on the right of his brow. But since the demon was expert in fighting, O gentle Vidura, he protected himself by a maneuver of his own mace. In this way, the demon, or Anyaksha, and the Lord, the personality of God, had struck each other with their huge maces, each enraged and seeking his own victory. There was keen rivalry between the two combatants. Both had sustained injuries on their bodies from the blows of each other's pointed maces, and each grew more and more enraged at the smell of blood on his person. In their eagerness to win, they performed maneuvers of various kinds, and their contest looked like an encounter between two forceful bulls for the sake of the cow. Now remember, It's described in the Upanishads as Shnavi Ram, that Krishna doesn't have veins and he doesn't have blood.
Yeah.
So why is blood being exhibited? It's also part of Krishna's chivalrous exhibition. You know, he manifests blood. Even when Grandfather Bhishma was firing arrows at Krishna, Krishna manifested blood. Of course, he accepted those arrows like the bite of a lover, whatever that means. So, a descendant of Kuru, Brahma, the most independent demigod of the universe, accompanied by his followers, came to see the terrible fight for the sake of the world between the demon and the personality of Godhead, who appeared in the form of a boar. After arriving at the place of combat, Brahma, the leader of thousands of sages and transcendentalists, saw the demon, who had attained such unprecedented power that no one could argue with or fight with him. Brahma then addressed Narayan, who was assuming the form of the boar for the first time. Lord Brahma said, "My dear Lord, this demon has proved to be a constant pinprick to the demigods, the brahmanas, the cows and innocent persons who are spotless and always dependent upon worshiping a source of fear by unnecessarily them. He has attained a boon from me, become a demon, always searching for a proper combatant, wandering all over the universe for this infamous purpose." Lord Brahma continued, "My dear Lord, there's no need to play with this serpentine demon who is always very skilled in conjuring tricks and is arrogant, self-sufficient, and most wicked." Brahma continued, "My dear Lord, you are infallible. Please kill this sinful demon before the demoniac hour arrives." And he presents another formidable approach favorable to him. "You can kill him by your internal potency without doubt. My Lord, the darkest evening which covers the world is fast approaching. Since you are the soul of all souls, kindly kill him and win victory for the demigods." The auspicious period known as Abhijit, which is most opportune for victory, commenced at midday and is all but past. Therefore, in the interest of your friends, please dispose of this formidable foe quickly. The demon, luckily for us, has come of his own accord to you, his death ordained by you. Therefore, exhibiting your ways, kill him in the duel and establish the worlds in peace. Maitreya said, after hearing the words of Brahma, the Creator, which were free from all sinful purposes and as sweet as nectar, the Lord heartily laughed and accepted his prayer with a glance laden with love. The Lord, who had appeared from the nostril of Brahma, sprang and aimed his mace at the chin of his enemy, the Hiransha demon, who was stalking fearlessly before him. Struck by the demon's mace, however, the Lord's mace slipped from his hand and looked splendid as it fell down whirling. This was miraculous, for the mace was blazing wonderfully. Even though the demon had an excellent opportunity to strike his unarmed foe without obstruction, he respected the law of single combat, thereby kindling the fury of the Supreme Lord. As the Lord's mace fell to the ground and a cry of alarm arose from the witnessing crowd of gods and rishis, the personality of God had acknowledged the demon's love of righteousness and therefore invoked his Sudarshan discus. As the discus began to revolve in the Lord's hands, and the Lord contended at close quarters with his chief of his Vaikuntha attendants, who had been born as Hiranyaksha, a vile son of Diti, there issued from every direction strange expressions uttered by those who were witnessing from airplanes. They had no knowledge of the Lord's reality, and they cried, "May victory attend you! Pray dispatch him, play no more with him." When the demon saw the personality of Godhead, who had eyes just like lotus petals, standing in a position before him, armed with a Sudarshan discus, his senses were overpowered by indignation. He began to hiss like a serpent, and he bit his lip with great resentment. The demon, who had fearful tusks, stared at the personality of Godhead as though to burn him. Springing into the air, he aimed his mace at the Lord, exclaiming at the same time, "You are slain!" O saintly Vidura, while his enemy looked on, the Lord in his boar form, the enjoyer of all sacrificial offerings, playfully knocked down the mace with his left foot, even as it came upon him with the force of a tempest. The Lord then said, "Take up your weapon and try it. Eager is you to conquer me." Challenging these words, the Lord at once loudly roared. When the Lord saw the mace flying toward him, he stood firmly where he was and caught it with the same ease as Garuda, the king of birds, would seize the serpent. His valor thus frustrated, the great demon felt humiliated and was put out of countenance. He was reluctant to take back the mace when it was offered by the personality of Godhead. He now took a trident, which is rapacious as a flaming fire, and hurled it against the Lord, the enjoyer of all sacrifices, even as one would use penance for a malevolent purpose against a holy Brahmana. Hurled by the mighty demon with all his strength, the flying trident shone brightly in the sky. The personality of Godhead, however, tore it to pieces with his discus Sudarshana, which had a sharp-edged rim, even as Indra cut off a wing of Garuda. Actually, he just cut off one of the feathers of Garuda. The demon was enraged when his trident was cut to pieces by the discus of the personality of Godhead. He therefore advanced toward the Lord and, roaring aloud, struck his hard fist against the Lord's broad chest, which bore the mark of Srivatsa. Then he went out of sight. Hit in this manner by the demon, O Vidura, the Lord, who had appeared as the first boar, did not feel the least quaking in any part of his body any more than an elephant would when struck with a wreath of flowers. The demon, however, employed many conjuring tricks against the personality of Godhead, who is the Lord of Yogamaya. At the sight of this, the people were filled with alarm and thought that the dissolution of the universe was near. Fierce winds began to blow from all directions, spreading darkness occasioned by dust, and hailstorms. Stones came in volleys from every corner as if thrown by machine guns. The luminaries in outer space disappeared due to the skies being overcast with masses of clouds, which were accompanied by lightning and thunder. The sky rained pus, hair, blood, stool, urine, and bones. O sinless Vidura, mountains discharged weapons of various kinds, and naked demonesses armed with tridents appeared with their hair hanging loose. I should say something about women's hair, but I'm not going to say anything about it right now. So anyway, cruel. Anyway, won't say it. Don't say it. Okay, it's cruel. People get offended. Cruel and savage slogans were uttered by hosts of ruffian yakshas and rakshasas, who all either marched on foot or rode on horses, elephants, or chariots. The Lord, the personal enjoyer of all sacrifices, now discharged his beloved Sudarshana, which was capable of dispersing the magical forces displayed by the demon. At that very moment, a shudder suddenly ran through the heart of Diti, the mother of Hiranyaksha. She recalled the words of her husband Kashyapa, and blood flowed from her breasts. When the demon saw his magic forces dispelled, he once again came into the presence of the personality of Godhead, Keshava, and full of rage, tried to embrace it within his arms to crush it. But to his great amazement, he found the Lord standing outside the circle of his arms. The demon now began to strike the Lord with his hard fist, but the Lord at Hoxaja slapped him on the root of the ear, just as Indra, the Lord of the Maruts, hit the demon Ritra. Though struck indifferently by the Lord, the conqueror of all, the demon's body began to wheel. His eyeballs bulged out of their sockets. His arms and legs broken and the hair on his head scattered, he fell down dead, like a gigantic tree uprooted by the wind. Aja, says Brahma, and others arrived on the spot to see the fearfully tusked demon lying on the ground, biting his lip. The glow of his face was yet unfaded, and Brahma admiringly said, "Oh, who could meet such a blessed death?" Brahma continued, "He was struck by a forefoot of the Lord, whom yogis seeking freedom from their unreal material bodies meditate upon in seclusion with mystic trance, while gazing on his countenance. This crest jewel of Diti's sons has cast off its mortal coil." These two personal assistants of the Supreme Lord, having been cursed, have been destined to take birth into maniac families. After a few such births, they will return to their own positions. So that's the narration. So any questions or comments? Yeah, question?
I was going to ask what you were going to say about...
Nah, I'm not going to say anything. I have enough self-control to not say anything. So, okay. So, who else has a question?
So, Gurudev, in which Yuga Lord Varaha actually appeared?
Isn't it the Sveta Kalpa or something like that? I think it was the Sveta Kalpa or something like that. I forget exactly. Which Yuga?
Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't one of our present Yugas.
No. I'm just saying, like,
I mean, it wasn't in the present Kalpa. It was another Kalpa.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that's described. But the Kalpa is described as the Sveta Kalpa or something like that. No, I don't know whether it was Satya, Chaita, Dwapara, or Kali.
Yeah.
But he's the first demon.
First.
He's the Adi demon. Adi Daicha.
Yeah.
And of course, there's the story of Hiranyakashipu, who got real upset that his brother was murdered. And then Hiranyakashipu starts preaching the Bhagavad Gita to his relatives. Did you know that? His relatives were really upset that, that Hiranyakashipu was killed. So then you have Hiranyakashipu bringing out all this Bhagavad Gita philosophy about how you're not the body, don't worry, life is temporary. That's just to pacify everybody, and then he gets angry and tries to kill the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And one thing you notice, which is a constant theme in many of these stories, is the demons think that by killing the Brahmanas, the demigods become powerless, especially Lord Vishnu becomes powerless. Mm-hmm. So in the Mahabharata story, the demons, before they actually appeared in families of kings and Kshatriya families, they actually took birth as animals. And they were killing, like these animals that were killing the Brahmanas in the forest. Because the Brahmanas were usually in the forest. And so they would kill them. And then you have, this is of course the Mahabharata, then you have King Vasu, who was protecting the Brahmins. And King Vasu was given like a crystal airplane. And he would go around, but he'd go around with his bow and arrows protecting the Brahmanas from these Rakshasas. Interesting story. So, any other questions? You all had a good time in Vrindavan? Yeah, your question.
I'm trying to understand the setting of where the fight is happening, because...
It's happening near the Garbhodak Ocean. Half of the universe.
So when the earth is thrown into the ocean, what happens to the living entities in the...
That's a good question. Especially the ones that couldn't swim.
Yeah.
They had a problem. First of all, the Garbhodak Ocean is not the water, it's not like the water that we know of. We often think of, this H2O water that we have in this world.
Oh.
But it's, it's different. It's the sweat of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And the sweat is not like, thank God, not like our sweat.
Could it be that they just go into like a dormant state,
Somebody-
like they would at the end?
I don't know. It's not described,
Yeah.
for me to speculate. There's a lot of monkeys out
So
there.
then when Hiranyakashipu-
Did you get the clothes already, or
Yeah, yes.
they're all inside now, the
Yeah.
clothes?
No, the second.
Except Kurta.
That's
Kurta was to wear.
Oh, okay. Because monkeys are taking over again. So, it could have been a dormant state, or it could have been time of devastation on the Earth planet.
Huh?
But it's not like water as we know it. I often thought about that. You have an ocean of milk. I was just thinking, it doesn't spoil after a while without refrigeration. But it can't be exactly the same milk that we experience. And not the same, it couldn't be the same water. It's something far more subtle. A lot of monkeys there. Far more subtle than what we experience in this world.
The descriptions always sound like Earth, like,
Yeah.
there's mountains and there's sky and
Yeah.
things falling from the sky.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like there's, within the greater universe.
Yeah,
a
there's also subtle things. There's the sky and
environment.
everything like that because
Like,
Because obviously, if you take it from our perspective, what we normally experience is outer space, so we call outer space. Then just the Earth would fall into an ocean and just be like, wouldn't be any sky there.
right.
So
And
there's
they even
something-
talk about day and night, Brahma was saying kill him before
Yeah, what's the
night
day? What's the day and
starts.
night?
Yeah.
And where the Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha were living there, and which place they are living, and all that imagine.
Yeah. Things are just inconceivable. A chincha.
We just can't perceive it with our.
No,
Yeah.
there's subtle energies, different dimensions, and sometimes, just like we have different metaphors or analogies to describe certain things, because we can't really understand. Just like the Lord and His energies are described like the sun, the sunshine, the sun deity. But it's not exactly the same. Metaphors help us try to understand what's going on, but they don't prove the point, nor do they actually completely accurately represent something. So, the descriptions are there, but it's something for us that is inconceivable at the present time.
Because in the fighting description also it is mentioned he fell on the ground. Where is
Yeah,
the ground?
no, where's the ground, It's supposed to be floating in the air, So, I think we have to wait until we become demigods or something. Okay. Have you all had a good time? Let me turn this off.